Good morning, everyone. We'll just give it a few minutes for everyone to log in before we officially get started. Good morning, everyone. I still see those little participant numbers jumping up, so we'll give it just a minute more before we officially start. Good morning. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Erika Polmar. I'm the Executive Director and a co-founder of the Independent Restaurant Coalition. Before we dive into the call, a little housekeeping note. The chat will be turned off today. Please do use the Q&A box for asking questions. This will make it much more efficient for us to work through the questions that you all have today. As many of you likely know, the Independent Restaurant Coalition formed in March of 2020 with a singular purpose: to secure financial support for independent restaurants and bars. We formed a community of restaurant and suppliers, and employers, and all work together to create the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, a program designed specifically to help neighborhood restaurants and bars survive the pandemic and protect the 16 million workers they support. Many of us had never advocated before, and convincing Congress and the White House to support our small businesses seemed like an incredibly daunting task. But we banded together, taught each other how to speak to our representatives, and suddenly our community of 500,000 small businesses became one united front fighting for the survival of our industry. Members of Congress listened to our cries and joined our fight, and that's how the Restaurant Revitalization Fund became a law. $28.6 billion for local restaurants and bars. This helped over 100,000 small businesses get much needed relief. But as so many of you know personally, the funds were depleted well before all businesses that applied for the grant could access them. For nearly a year, we've been advocating for Congress to finish what they started and refill the RRF so that the 177,000 bars and restaurants still in the application portal can receive the funding they need to get out from under 2 years of crippling debts, pay staff, make safety modifications, and simply survive. Last Thursday, the House passed H.R. 3807, the Relief for Restaurants and Other Hard-Hit Small Businesses Act. Today, we're going to talk about what the act includes, what it means for business owners awaiting funding, and we're going to share our next steps for advocating for this critically needed program, because although it passed in the House, we're not done yet. We still need the Senate to pass this program. I'm joined today by Caroline Styne and Bessie King, both fierce advocates for independent restaurants, and both of whom I'll ask to introduce themselves before they begin to share information about where we are in the effort to replenish and what you can do to support that effort. With that, I'll pass it to you, Caroline.
Thanks, Erika. Hello, I'm Caroline Styne. I'm a founding and board member of the Independent Restaurant Coalition, and I'm an independent restaurant owner myself. I own a few restaurants in Los Angeles. I've been through this whole thing, and I still haven't gotten my grant either, so I'm here with you. Here's the state of play. It's been 13 months since the RRF became law and 10 months since the $28.6 billion fund was exhausted, leaving nearly 200,000 restaurants and bars without critical relief. As Erika mentioned, last Thursday, the relief for restaurants and other hard-hit businesses was brought to the floor from some of our fiercest champions in Congress, Representatives Earl Blumenauer, Nydia Velázquez, Dean Phillips, and Brian Fitzpatrick. The bill passed on Thursday morning, and now the bill goes on to the Senate for them to take it up after they return from their Easter break at the end of April. As written, the bill provides $42 billion to replenish the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, which experts have concluded is enough to cover the outstanding eligible applicants in the portal. If you're in the portal and awaiting funding, you will not have to reapply, but you will be required to certify that you're still open or intend to reopen within 6 months of certification. The great thing is this is not location specific. It's based on your tax ID number. So if you lost your lease or had to move or in the process of moving, you would still qualify. The bill directs the SBA to have a reconsideration process for denied grants, which would help anyone who had issues with errors or mistakes that led to an otherwise unfounded denial. It also provides $13 billion for a new hard hit industries award program to provide awards to small businesses across the industry sectors that were hardest hit by the pandemic, but were not eligible for RRF or the Shuttered Venue Operations Grant. The Hard Industry Awards program is a new program modeled after the RRF and requires a certification that your losses were above a certain level to be eligible to receive a grant. In order to be eligible for this hard hit award, you need to employ no more than 200 people, have lost at least 40% of revenue for 2020 and 2021 as compared to 2019. Applicants for this hard hit industries award will be prioritized first for businesses with greater than 80% lost revenues, second for businesses with more than 60% lost revenue, and third to businesses with the 40% or more lost revenue. While not explicitly intended for restaurants, if you didn't apply for the RRF and are qualified by the previously listed criteria, you're technically would be eligible to apply for the Hard Hit Industries Award. Lastly, the bill requires the SBA to do more reporting to Congress and the public, and has one modification to the Shuttered Venues Grant that extends the date grant holders can use for funds to match the RRF window. So those funds are now eligible to be used through March 11, 2023. So now what? Our congressional champions are in touch with Senate leaders as we get ready for their return. Now is the time to call our senators to do the right thing for restaurant industry and the millions of businesses and jobs that we support. A few weeks ago, we were told that time was up on the relief and the RRF was not going to get replenished, but we stayed loud. We made sure our representatives knew exactly what was on the line if they were going to walk away from this program, and that they needed to really finish what they had left behind. And the House listened and they took action. Over a year ago, Senator Schumer called the $28.6 billion a down payment. It's time for the Senate to take action too. So I'm going to pass this mic, the virtual mic, over to Bessie King, founding member of the Massachusetts Restaurants United of Boston, Massachusetts, who will share her thoughts on how we can best win this fight.
Thank you, Caroline, and thank you, IRC, for having yet another virtual meeting to encourage people and influence and inspire and educate them on how to get involved. So yes, my name is Bessie King. My mom, Julie, is the founder and owner of Villa Mexico Cafe, an authentic Mexican restaurant, one of the first Mexican restaurants in Massachusetts. So we have been ingrained in our community for 22 years now. And until COVID, did we realize how much more that we need to do for our industry. And that is how I came to be a part of the founding members of Massachusetts Restaurants United. Because of Mass Restaurants United, we realized that chains like McDonald's have millions of dollars to pour into their lobbying efforts. As a collection of small business owners, we don't have those resources, but what we do have is connections to the communities. Because as we know, restaurants build community, and the communities that we serve are much more important because they can create that influence compared to big corporations that never reciprocate or give back to the people that they're serving. We are a network of 500,000 small businesses, like Erika shared, with 16 million people that we support and hundreds of even more countless diners who come and enjoy themselves at our establishments at small local independent restaurants and bars. We have strength in numbers and in our connection to our communities. So our members of Congress come to our restaurants, come to our businesses every campaign cycle to be part of that community, to show their face and to be saying, please elect us. So now we serve them and we need them to serve us. Let's show our senators that we are not just small businesses, but that we are a united community that is fighting together and is in desperate need of their support. The way MRU has gone about it, thankfully, we have very supportive elected leaders and they are listening and they act when we ask for help. But the way we did it and the way that you can do it in states that maybe don't have supportive leadership is literally by using your network. Reach out to your friends, reach out to your neighborhood, reach out to your customers, to your family members. to any organization that is already advocating for something within your community. Perhaps it's workers' rights, perhaps it's, food security. Connect with those organizations and collaborate in a way that will make you reach your elected leaders stronger together. And how to reach them, literally. Get on the phone and call every single day until they answer. And if you get someone from their staff, leave a message. And the next day, call again and leave a message. If you can't physically do it, you can schedule a group of people to everybody call on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, because you can leave voicemails. So make sure that you have a line of people calling every day so that those elected leaders cannot ignore you, because technically they can't. We elected them, so make sure they're working for you. And if you don't want to call, because a lot of us, like me, millennials, we don't like to be on the phone, you can do two other things that we have done at MRU and have proven to be successful. Email your elected leaders. The IRC has made it so easy to go on their website and find out how to email your elected representatives, specifically your senators. So make sure you're emailing them every day, if not at least once a week. You can print out flyers that ask your customers and your employees to email them as well. So that is another resource to use, and that is so easy and takes less than 5 minutes, just like a call, but a little bit easier and faster for people that don't want to make a call. And the last thing that you can do that I personally love is hold them accountable on social media. Post your stories, share your stories. Post a photo of your restaurant and say why you need this economic relief help, and then tag your elected leaders. Find them by Googling their name and then adding Instagram at the end, and you'll get their handle, and you tag them on that photo, you tag them on that tweet, you tag them on that Facebook post, because that way they know that you know who they are, and they know that you know that they're there to serve you. So those are just 3 ways that MRU has utilized our resources, our connection to the IRC to hold our elected leaders accountable, and the ways that you can hold your elected leaders accountable and reach out to them and ask them for help in case they are not as receptive as our Massachusetts delegation is and has been. So, we have taught members to use these resources as well across the state, and it has turned out to be successful. But one of the questions that I'm often asked is, what are we asking for, right? When you call, what do I need to call for? So we're not just asking our elected leaders to sponsor any bill, right? We need money for the 177,000 restaurants, bars, who applied to get RRF money, a grant, but didn't get the funds. We specifically need to get that money for these restaurants. The vehicle doesn't matter, right? We don't care how they are going to call it. What we care is that we get the funding that is appropriated for us, for those restaurants and RRF promised money. So when you call your senator, just focus on the request to vote yes on RRF and RRF funds. That is specifically what you are asking for. And even if you've never called your senator office before, today's the day. You can start, you can learn something new, you can challenge yourself and make it happen. The Independent Restaurant Coalition has created resources that will take you step by step on their website to make that call. And if you have any questions, reach out to a member of the coalition. Reach out to anyone else who has spoken to the representatives. Use the coalition, use us, use me. We are here to help. You can reach us via email or also on social media and engage. Be loud. Make your voices heard, because it's important to share your story, call your members of Congress, utilize social media, and ask anyone, your customers, your friends, your employers, your employees, your neighbors, your landlords, anyone who wants to see you stay in business, because this is why we need this money, for you to stay open. Make sure everyone in Washington knows what you need and is ready to help you and knows how critical this funding is for your restaurants. So with that, thank you for listening to me today. And I'll just quickly say it in Spanish. Oh, I'm sorry. I think my camera is all blurred. I apologize for that. But okay, I will say it in Spanish for anyone in the audience, because I'm a member of our Hispanic community here in Massachusetts. Por favor, si necesita dinero del Restaurant Revitalization Fund, RRF, asegúrese que está llamando a sus senadores esta misma semana. Si tiene alguna pregunta, alguna duda de cómo comunicarse con sus líderes de Congreso y del Senado, utilice el IRC. Tenemos recursos en español y en inglés que usted puede utilizar para poder enfocarse en conseguir este dinero. Y cuando llame a sus senadores, no nada más pida ayuda a los restaurantes, específicamente pida que el dinero del Restaurant Revitalization Fund, del RRF, sea rellenado para que usted pueda conseguir los fondos que ya se le han sido prometidos. Entonces, si necesita más información, contáctenos, utilice al IRC, contácteme a mí por miembro de Mass Restaurants United. Estamos aquí para ayudarle. Thank you so much.
Whew, tough act to follow, Bessie and Caroline. Thank you so much. I should add that, Bessie, I heard you say you don't like to make calls, and then you told everybody to call the Senate today. So I'm banking on you to make at least one phone call today.
I don't like to make them, but I make them. I make them for this reason. We can all make them, but I still use my social media and make sure to exploit it. I tag everybody and their moms.
That's amazing. I should also mention that resources are available on the Independent Restaurant Coalition in 5 languages. So when you don't have Bessie translating for you, there is also that resource on our website. So if you visit saverestaurants.com, you'll see a little button on the right side that will translate for you as well. I know that many of you who are joining us today have been advocating fiercely for 2 years. I know some of you are just beginning to stretch beyond your comfort level and moving away from those automatic email tools and dialers into figuring out how you are really going to help with this final push. This is a 2-week sprint. We know that the Senate is going to return from their recess the week of April 25th. We have received numerous tidbits of information from various folks in the Senate that they are going to bring this bill to the floor quickly and vote. And so that, of course, begs the question, what bill? I've seen that floating around a little bit in the chat. There are currently a few bills in the Senate that could be taken up for consideration. The 2 most likely are the bill that just passed out of the House and a bill that Senator Cardin introduced in the Senate. You don't have to worry about bill numbers. What you need to do is continue to tell your story and ask for the urgent replenishment of the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. So we have produced a bunch of tools that offer guidance and can make this work a little bit easier and most of all effective. I know that you all are burning the candle at both ends. You don't have a lot of time to figure this stuff out. So we've tried to do the heavy lifting for you. If you visit saverestaurants.com/advocate, you will find a page that is frequently updated with advocacy tools. If you just want to remember saverestaurants.com, you'll see a little button in the upper menu that says Take Action. Go to that. The first tab underneath it is Start Advocating. This is where you are going to find some amazing tools, one of which is the top priority for this week and next. It is a 6-step guide to scheduling and holding a meeting with your senator. We give you basic scripts. We give you links to data sheets for your state. We basically walk you through the entire process, and the entire process is only 6 steps. Now, the tricky piece about this is that you can make the call to request that meeting. It might take a little while for your senator's office to get back to you. So if you're wondering, what should I do today? That's the call you should make. Call and request that meeting so that there's plenty of time for folks to get back to you. Now, while you're waiting for them to get back to you, you can also use our call scripts that are also on that page, and you can use them every day. You can also cut and paste them and send them to your best friend, your mom, your grandma, your cousin, 3 times removed. They're so easy. You insert information about whether you are a restaurant owner and you are struggling, or you can simply change it and say, I'm a diner and I don't want my favorite neighborhood restaurant to go out of business. I'm a diner and my favorite place to go for special occasions is in danger, and I want to be able to go there and celebrate my next wedding anniversary. It doesn't matter if you are a restaurant owner or you're a member of the public. Maybe you are a supplier and your olive oil sales are dependent on having restaurants to sell into. Call and share your story. Your stories are so much more important than statistics. Statistics are easy to dismiss. They just become a pile. You all probably feel the same way when we rattle off numbers at you. Do you really absorb them? Are you hearing them? No, what you hear is the story that tugs at your heartstring. You hear the story of Bessie's mom struggling in the restaurant and Bessie working 2 jobs to keep things going. Those are the stories to tell. So we definitely provide you with data points, but you don't need them nearly as much as you need to just be you and share your story. When we had a press event last week with Congressman Fitzpatrick, one of the things he said was not, this is how many restaurants are struggling. He said, my constituents are on their knees and they're begging for assistance. That's what stuck with him. So don't be afraid to be vulnerable. The one thing you shouldn't do is don't scream at your senators or your Senate staff. But it's okay to be honest and be direct and really share the emotion that is going through you and your staff every single day when you don't know what is going to happen to your business. So we've got the 6-step guide to scheduling a call with your senator. We have easy to use call scripts. We have social media graphics with cut and paste captions. Now that advocacy page will update. So when we have a new graphic to share, we'll post it there so you can keep updated on that as well. We also have a whole library of graphics. So if that one doesn't speak to you, you can just go to our graphics library and grab one that does. We also have instructions on how to write a letter to the editor. Now you may think, well, why would I bother writing a letter to my local paper? Well, there are still a lot of people that read those letters to the editor. And when you do that, you're doing similar to what Bessie suggested with putting a flyer to your customers. You're letting your community know that there is still trouble for restaurants. You know, we are so great in hospitality about being calm, cool, and collected. We're like the swan on the pond. We just look graceful as we're gliding across, and nobody sees our little feet paddling like hell. So it's time to let your community know that you're struggling and that you need their support. And writing a letter to the editor can help you do that. We've provided a template and easy to use instructions for you to do that as well. If you are a hip, cool millennial, which I am not, and you're more into Instagram, or maybe you're just way cooler than I am and also into Instagram and Facebook, make a video. We posted some instructions and some talking points as well on that page. You want to keep your videos pretty short. 1 minute is great. Once you start getting into that 2-minute range, you lose people listening, but we've given you some talking points and some instructions on how to post. And if you post on social media, be sure to tag us and we will repost them and share those stories. So you don't need to do every item on this list in one day, but this week and next week are absolutely critical for the success of the RRF. So it's my hope that you will absolutely approach this work with urgency. I don't mean to say that to offend anybody that has been doing this work urgently every day, but this is crunch time. This is the last 2 weeks, the little last mile of a major marathon. So please join us, prioritize the work, start with setting up a meeting with your senator's office. And then if you can make advocacy a daily habit, it will become much easier. I have all of the phone numbers for my state and federal representatives in my phone. That makes it super easy for me to reach out regularly, and I'll use any excuse to call. I mean, any excuse. Yesterday, I was walking the dog. It snowed in Oregon in April. That seemed like a great reason to call my representatives and say, this snow and the accompanying power outages and kids being out of school is really going to mess with restaurant and bar traffic today, and they can't afford yet another decrease in sales. They're clinging by a thread. I really need your help supporting the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. Now, my representatives happen to be mostly Dems and one Republican. And so with the Dems who do answer the phone and say, oh, we're supporting, I say, great, how can you help me reach across the aisle? Who in your network could you call on my behalf? Could you make an introduction? Is there a state that you think I should activate other restaurant owners in with a member of the Senate who might be particularly open to supporting this effort as you are? These folks, as Bessie said, were elected by you. They are there to serve you. And so you don't just have to leave a message and dash. You can make requests at any time. One of the questions we receive most often is, who should I focus on right now? My senator is on board. What do I do next? First of all, our elected leaders have stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks of issues that they need to address. So even if your senator is supportive, it's worthwhile to make a call and say, hey, we're still out here and we're still struggling. This bill hasn't passed yet. I know you have a lot going on. I need to make sure that this stays on the top of your list. Thank you so much for prioritizing this. You can also look more broadly. We feel pretty great about our Democratic support. We have struggled for the 2 years of this effort to garner significant Republican support. Although there is bipartisan support for this, just not enough to push us over the line. So if your state is shored up, you can focus on Republican states. Maybe you have friends or family or colleagues in a place like Alaska. Maybe you source your seafood from Alaska, or Tennessee, Texas, Louisiana, Maine, Utah, North or South Carolina, or Kansas. If you're buying products from those states, if you have friends in those states, it's a great time to reach out to them and ask them to join you in this effort, and point them to our Take Action page as well. All of those tools are available to everybody. Engaging as many people as we can and pointing them to these tools is going to be an enormous help. If we don't have double-digit phone calls going into every office every day, we're missing out. Double digits only 10. So if everyone on this call today reaches out to 2 to 3 friends and engages them in this effort, we are going to reach the numbers we need to make sure that this issue stays top of mind. Right now, the IRC membership is working on state-specific meetings, media engagement, and outreach to restaurants and bars in key states as well. IRC members work together and with our government affairs and strategic communications teams, who provide guidance and incredible support. If you are on this call today and you are not a member of the IRC and you're interested in being more involved with this work and policy issues beyond the RRF, I'd encourage you to consider joining us in a more formal capacity. There are a variety of memberships available, including an advocate role that is just $1 per week for an annual membership. If you'd like to join, but there's no budget for membership fees, if you really want this support, you really want connection to our government affairs and comms team and to all of our great members who are committed to coaching and mentoring, we have a scholarship program, and we'll post that information as well on how to access the scholarship form. You do not need to be an IRC member to do this work. You can stay up to date on our efforts by visiting our website at saverestaurants.com, following us on Twitter or on Instagram, or by signing up for our mailing list. However you can engage in this work, it will be very, very much appreciated. We are grateful for the time that you spent with us today, and I want to make sure that we answer the questions in the Q&A so that you've left the call today with the information that you came seeking. So I'm going to just pop over to this Q&A, and we have 25 questions in here. I'm going to start at the top and work my way down. So please be patient with us, and hopefully I will have good enough recall to not recite duplicates. Do we have a unanimous commitment for the 48 Democrats and 2 independents in the Senate to pass replenishment of the RRF? Also, how many Senate Republicans have verbally committed to voting for RRF approval? Chris Lamond, I will ask you to join us to chime in on some of these issues. We do not have a unanimous commitment of anybody right now. We have a really good feeling about where we are. This is a funny spot to be in. We, like I said before, have numerous bills. If you piece those all together, the missing piece of this puzzle is having enough Republican support. And Chris, if you would mind addressing the specific question of, at this point, we've told folks, don't go out and ask for co-sponsorship of a bill because there are so many bills floating around. How would you recommend people ask that our senators demonstrate their support?
I think the most important message we can deliver is the message we touched upon earlier, which is the urgency that's exists in the community for the refill of the RRF, and making that clear to the senators you talk to and the staff. It's not as important to really talk about bill numbers, talk about specific pieces of legislation that they may have co-sponsored in the past or endorsed in the past. The most important message is Senator Schumer is going to bring a package to the floor. We need you to support it, whether you're Republican or Democrat. Expressing the urgency that exists in the community about all of the pressures we face, whether it's the new COVID strain, supply chain costs, increasing daily, apprehensive customers coming back, rent, all those issues that we know we face every day. Those are the issues that lead the conversation and will express like I said earlier, the urgency that's required from them to act on our behalf and not get in the weeds and worry about specific bill numbers. Just focus on the issues at hand, focus on getting them to understand how bad it is for our industry right now, and use that as leverage to get them to support the effort.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Somebody added that if you press 2 at the end of leaving a message, it will indicate that it is a priority message. So great tip. Thank you for sharing that. For folks who had their grants rescinded, you are in the application portal. So when the program is replenished, you will not need to reapply. You will have to verify you're still in business. We don't know what the SBA verification process will look like or how it will be, how you will be contacted. When we have that information, we'll certainly share it. But the first step in the process is to make sure that we refund the RRF so that we can have that problem to solve. So there are lots of questions about pay-fors and what that will look like. You know, we could spend hours talking about where the funding for this program will come from, what the opportunities are. Again, that's not something that anyone on this call, unless you're all government affairs folks or former politicians, or maybe members of the legislature now, that we should focus on. What we should do is focus on our need and emphasizing that this remains a priority for us and that we need the Senate to take action the moment they return from break and fund the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. There was a question, we're sort of bouncing around here because I'm just going in the order that you all have posted questions. If we are denied RRF but may qualify under other small businesses, do we reapply in a different portal? Will we be transferred in the queue for the other 13 billion program? You will not be transferred. If you are denied, there will be apparently a process for reconsideration. And when the new portal opens, there will be a whole set of guidelines and an application process for that specific portal or program, sorry. So since I botched that answer, if you are applying for the new program, there will be a whole new set of requirements, rules, regulations. It will take the SBA some time to develop those, and then they will open an application portal for the other hard hit small business program. If you were in the queue and waiting for approval and you don't know if you're approved or denied, you're one of those 177,000 people that we're talking about. So you'll be asked to recertify some information and you'll be good to go, and they'll review your application. And if everything checks out, you will be eligible for funding. During the discussion before the House vote, they mentioned that if the bill passes the Senate, the 177,000 restaurants that have been approved will be funded. It's my understanding that many applicants were stuck in review and may never receive notification that their application was approved. Is there a way to check if your pending application was approved? And did the SBA continue to review applications after the funds were exhausted with the hope that the RRF will be replenished? Really awesome questions, Paul Goodman. Third parties cannot access information about your application. You may be able to access that information by going through your congressperson's office, who may be able to make an inquiry on your behalf. We know that a number of the applications in the portal have been reviewed and approved, and a number maybe have not been through the complete review process. We don't have any more clarification on that because every applicant in the portal who has not received funding is going to have to verify their information. All of you will be contacted when the program is refunded and the SBA is able to turn the portal back on. I think we've answered the question about if you were rescinded or eligible. So if you're in the portal, you'll receive information from the SBA. When you log into the SBA RRF portal, it really reads account inactive. Yep, the portal is inactive. So it is only active if you are somebody who has received a grant and is required to report on your expenses. So don't panic if it reads account inactive. For those of us with senators who already support the RF, what are some steps we can take to help? First and foremost, call your senator who does support and remind them that you still need assistance. Second of all, scan the room. Who do you know that it is in a Republican-led state? What friend do you have that you haven't seen in 5 years that you ran into at a food festival? What friend do you have that you ran into at a high school reunion? Do you know that's living in one of those states? Give them a call, reach out to them. If you're Bessie, she would do it on social media. Tag them into your posts. Let them know that you need them to engage with you as well on this effort. And I'm dominating the Q&A here. Bessie, Carolyn, Chris, anytime you want to jump in with a question, you just let me know. Can this RRF happen fast? It serves as an emergency funding and funds should be available as soon as the Senate follows suit, President Biden signed into law, and the SBA knows how to restart. We agree it should move quickly. We also agree that the SBA is going to need to follow protocol and make sure that they verify applications, and there could be other rulemaking that needs to happen. So I don't want to say we're going to have to be patient, but we may have to be a little patient. However, the great thing is the last time this happened, the SBA got this program built and ready and out the door so quickly, they don't have to do any of that building. The program set up, your applications are in there. They're just going to have to do some verification. Bessie, I saw your hand go up.
Yeah, I'd like to join Leanne Milton's and Joshua Jacobs's questions in one. Should we keep, if we get through, does it help to keep calling? And then she mentioned, should we refer to COVID because COVID hasn't gone away? Two super great points. Sort of what I was talking about, having like a calling tree. If you get through, that's awesome, call again. Or if you can't call that day, have someone that's going to call later that day or the next day, right? So there's 7 days of the week. Make sure you have 7 calls scheduled. If you don't want to make all those calls, make sure that there's a accountability tree of calls so that someone is calling every single day. And then mention COVID, absolutely mention COVID. Yes, we are still in a pandemic, even if there's no emergency programming right now. There may be another variant coming. We have to be very realistic that maybe summer is going to be great, but then we have the fall again, and we're still dealing with people who are perhaps unvaccinated or who are just about to get boosted and they can still get sick, sort of like our employees, not just our customers. So absolutely mention that that's why you need this money, and keep calling every single day, keep calling.
Thanks, Bessie. What if we lost our lease and are in the process of rebuilding, but may not actually reopen in 6 months? Certificate of occupancy, but actively working to reopen. Construction delays occur. Steve, I'm sorry, I can't answer that question, but I will take it off this call and see if I can find you answers. And when we have them, we will post them. We will soon be posting an FAQ on the IRC website. So thank you for asking, and we will see what we can find out. Will the same rules for eligibility in the original RRF be honored for new applicants that are new restaurants that qualified? So the RRF is not reopening. The Restaurant Revitalization Fund replenishment is only taking care of folks that are in the application portal. Restaurants who did not apply for the RRF, as well as other hard hit small businesses, will be able to apply for the new portal, the new program. And I'm afraid we can't provide you with all of the details on that because they don't exist yet. Little super wonky insight here. When the Senate passes a bill, it then goes to the agency that will administer the bill. That agency has to do some administrative work and some rule work and create a framework to hang off of the legislation. And so we know that the hard hit small business fund is intended to act very much the same way that the Restaurant Revitalization Fund works. There are different priorities in terms of who will be awarded funding. For instance, we know that somebody in that program needs to employ not more than 200 employees, and that they have to have suffered at least 40% pandemic related revenue loss in 2020 and 20 2021, but we don't know a heck of a lot more than that. So there will be new rules for a new program.
There are a lot of questions that sort of revisit this topic of either they're in review or they, were given a question that they answered and then never got word after that because the funds ran out. I think for all these people, and I'm in the same boat with one of my businesses, I think you're still in the portal, you're still eligible if this gets refilled. And if there is less money, if they don't put all $42 billion in the Senate version, what happens then?
So what happens then is that the way the bills are written is that the SBA may adjust the amount awarded so that all applicants in the portal are receiving funding, but their funding amount may be reduced. So we believe we've seen in the House that there's a $42 billion package. We've seen in the Senate that there's a $40 billion package. We don't have visibility into how many applications or what the total sum is needed from the SBA, but we trust that those two bodies have done their homework, and so there's a range in there. If Senator Cardin has put forth this bill with 40 billion, then he is confident that 40 billion will fund all of those applications. If for some reason the program ran short, it would be adjusted a bit. When again, we can't provide additional clarification on that because we're not there yet. Looks like there are a lot of questions about that. I'm going to scroll a little bit more. The RF portal has not reopened. This program has not been funded. I'm going to make that really clear. We passed in the House, but we're not done yet. This program will not go live unless this is passed in the Senate. So your applications are going to continue to look like they are inactive. The portal is off. So we really have to focus on getting this through the Senate so that the portal can go back on, you can certify your business, and you can work your way through the application verification process and receive funding.
Somebody asking about the hard hit award, and I'll just go back and just review that there are a few things that are required for that. That there is, I think there was a 13, I've got to find my notes again, I'm so sorry, but $13 billion in this program. And to be eligible for it, you have to employ no more than 200 people. You have to have lost at least 40% of your revenue for 2020 and 2021 as compared to 2019. And then there is a tier system for who has first access to this. And the first access to these funds go to the businesses that had the greatest loss, over greater than 80% lost revenues as compared to 2019. The next tier is greater than 60% lost revenue. And then the third tier is the businesses who had more than 40% lost revenue. So this is going to be a new program that the SBA will put together. And but those are the main criteria. So even if you're a restaurant and you didn't get the RRF and you meet those criteria, then you can apply for this new program.
Thanks, Carolyn. Chris, I'm going to put you on the spot. There were a few questions that I saw in the chat asking about the pay-fors. We've seen in the bills that there is reference to, especially in Senator Cardin's bill, that there is a $5 billion pay-for. Could you elaborate a little bit on where money is coming from in the proposed bill to take care of this funding?
Yeah, the funds that they've identified to offset the spending that is included in this legislation comes from already allocated COVID relief through other programs. It's a complicated answer to a difficult question, which is we can't really identify specifically which funds this bill targets, but they've pulled money that has not been spent from other programs as of today. There's some complications around whether other efforts to provide COVID relief will use similar pay-fors and whether there be pay-fors available for us for this effort, the 4008 bill that Cardin and Wicker introduced. But as it's written, it uses COVID money that's already been allocated.
Thanks, Chris. So
One
lots
more
of,
note, I see one more note, if you don't mind. I see some other comments or questions in the chat about whether we should expect all of the Democrats to be on board, since they've co-sponsored and voted for previous iterations of legislation around the fund. And we shouldn't take anybody for granted. We do want to focus on the Republicans, but we also want to focus on Democrats. This is an opportunity to reach out to all 100 members of the Senate and not take anyone for granted. Make sure that everybody understands what happens if this fund isn't refilled, what the impact of the community will be. And like I said, not take anyone for granted that their vote will be there.
Thank you. So I'm going to answer the last two questions that I see in the Q&A, and they will wrap this up with a quick summary, so we all know what we are going to do when we hang up this call. Quick question about, can you be an IRC member if you don't own a restaurant? We have a variety of membership levels. We have an advocate level, which you can sign on to if you are just a supporter. And we have associate and partner memberships if you are somehow engaged in supporting restaurants, maybe you're a supplier. We also have trade memberships, and each one comes with a different level of access to the organization and different engagement. So our board is established to only be trade members, and a trade member is somebody who is involved in the daily operation of an independent restaurant or bar. We did this intentionally so that this organization continued to represent the independent restaurants that we formed to support, and wasn't a board led by folks who weren't actively involved in the industry every day. If you visit saverestaurants.com and click on the membership button, you will see all of these opportunities outlined there. And if you don't have your question answered by that page, please don't hesitate to send an email to info@saverestaurants. You'll reach me, and I will be delighted to respond to you and find a way for you to best engage with the organization. Your Restaurant Revitalization Fund grant eligible expenses have not changed. In the outline of this program, I would encourage you to visit the SBA page for the program guide, where you can learn all about what loans and other expenses are eligible expenses for the program. And for restaurants that were not in operation in 2019, you would be eligible for the Hard Hit Industry Award Program. Again, we don't have all of the guidance on what that eligibility looks like, but it is very specific to revenue loss in 2020 and 2021. And we'll await further guidance once this beast passes. Gosh, I'm really having trouble with S's today. Thank you for your patience. So in summary, you all heard that we're on a 2-week sprint. It is really critical that we get to every senator. It doesn't matter what their party affiliation is. We need to reach out to every single senator in this country. So whoever your senator is, make that phone call today. Tell them how urgent it is, share your story, and make sure that you receive a commitment that they will support the RRF replenishment in whatever vehicle it passes through the Senate at the end of this month. If your senator or your Senate office says, no, we're not supporting, your next step is to ask for a meeting. The job of sales starts when the customer says no. So the moment they say, no, we're not supporting, ask to set a meeting so you can explain why this is so important to you and the other restaurants in your community. You don't have to go through that meeting by yourself. Grab a friend, grab the other person that has a business down the street from you, grab your favorite coffee shop, whoever else in your community is feeling the same pain you are. You can have them join you on that call to share both of your stories and impress upon your senators how critically important this is. If you're not up for making that call for a meeting, start with writing a personal email, make a phone call and leave a message, write a letter to the editor, phone a friend, lots of different things that you can do to build this effort. And we need every single one of you to at least do one thing every day. I know that's a big ask. Some of these things will take you under 5 minutes. Again, if you make it a daily habit, it will get easier and easier. The jitters will go away from making the phone call. You can be like Bessie and call when you know the office is closed and leave that voice message. It will get recorded and it counts. So please visit saverestaurants.com for additional resources. Please don't hesitate to email us either through the website or by sending a note to info@saverestaurants.com. We are here to support you. Being independent does not mean being alone. We are fully committed not only to saving our industry from the destruction that the pandemic has caused, but in building a sustainable and resilient industry for the future. So we need you now and we need you in the future. Let us know how we can continue to be of service. I want to thank Bessie, Caroline, and Chris for joining us today, and all the folks you don't see behind the scenes that helped pull this call together. I appreciate every single one of you taking the time to join us today. Hang up with us. Bet you budgeted an hour for this call. Now you've got 10 minutes to go call a senator. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great day.